Looking at live pictures of voters in Manchester. They're getting ready to participate in this presidential contest. Voting in most of the state closes in about 43 minutes or so. We're standing by for the first votes out of New Hampshire on this truly crucial primary night. Right now, we're getting new information from our reporters inside some of the key polling places. Let's first go to CNN's Miguel Marquez. He's in Dover, New Hampshire for us. Miguel, what are you learning?
Yeah, 45 minutes to go here, and we've seen the biggest crowds that we've seen all day. One measure of enthusiasm for voters here are the number of new registrations. This table that you're looking at right now, those are people who are registering for the first time in Ward 1. They have hundreds of new registrants, Democratic, undecideds, or those that don't choose a party, and Republican. I can tell you I've done my own sort of unofficial exit poll for much of the day. They have over 1,800 votes in at this location right now in Ward 1. That will put them around the 65% turnout, which is pretty good, about as good as 2016, not quite as great as 2008 so far. Most of the people in this ward supporting Bernie Sanders. Back to you.
All right, Miguel, thank you. Let's go to Brian Todd. He's at a voting site in Concord, New Hampshire. What are you seeing over there?
Right, Wolf, we've got a rush hour surge of voters with a little less than 45 minutes to go until the polls close here. This is Ward 10, Broken Ground Elementary School here in Concord, one of the most active precincts in the entire city. What the story here runs along a couple of parallels. You've had a surge. That table over there is where the new voter registrations are. People are still doing that. They've been doing that all day long. Some 50 new voter registrations there, a very healthy number for a precinct like this. Also, they have people who are declaring, undeclared voters coming in, changing to a party affiliation, and then changing back. That's what they're doing at this table. I can also tell you that they are nearing their levels of total voter turnout in this precinct, close to the number that they had in 2016. They're only a couple of hundred shy. They've passed the 2,000 mark just a few moments ago. They need a couple of hundred more to match that, which was among the record turnouts in any New Hampshire primary in this ward in 2016. They're just a couple of hundred away from that. Can they get there in the next 40 or so minutes? They're optimistic, but they're not sure. We've been in touch with the Secretary of State's office, who says that voter turnout all day long has been very steady, but they may not break the records. I can also tell you, Wolf, what's very interesting here in this precinct and in the northern precincts that we were at midnight, that midnight vote in Dixville Notch, Hart's Location, and Millsfield, where Amy Klobuchar won those three places collectively. Amy Klobuchar here is giving Bernie Sanders a run for his money. She's a close second to him here in the voters that we've sampled. We've sampled more than 50 voters coming out of the polls here. Sanders has a narrow lead, but Klobuchar in second, Buttigieg in third, and almost all of these voters, Wolf, say they're going to vote for the Democratic candidate, no matter who it is, against President Trump.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. Anderson, polls closing in most of the state in about 40 minutes or so from now?
Yeah, a few polls will remain open longer, but the vast majority will be closing in 40 minutes. Governor, I heard you saying you found that interesting, the exit polling, the approximate one.
The exit polling there, or at least the informal exit polling there, showing that Amy Klobuchar is so close to Bernie Sanders. It's a little bit surprising because everybody thought Buttigieg would be there. And it also kind of goes against what some of the exit polls showed about the people thinking that a woman will have a tougher time to win. I do think that Amy Klobuchar is uniquely talented in this regard, that she has a sense of humor that it's not often easy to find in politicians. And it is such a compelling thing, an unusual thing. She's the funny one up on the stage. And I think that there's something, there's a bit of sparkle to that I think that is underlying a bit of this. She's totally likable. And you are completely right about the I see you bit of it, because I think that's really important.
Anderson, I just wrote a couple things down here. We didn't talk about this, but health care was the number one issue in the poll as to what people care about. Then you look at that, and then you've got to, I always look at everything now in this election. I know New Hampshire's going to matter, but I look at it through four states, really three: Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, and maybe Arizona. So what I think about is health care, kitchen table issues, job security, wages. Those issues, to me, as articulated by a Democrat, in those states can turn those states around. At least I think if they win Pennsylvania and Michigan, that's really tough for Trump to make it up somewhere else. But what's so interesting about this is that Amy doing better tonight shows, and somebody said they're kind of liberal. I don't know what that even means. Are you kind of conservative? Are you kind of liberal? There aren't a lot of people saying they're very liberal, which is interesting. And the fact that they want to win. They want to win. And so I think the person that can best articulate these issues has the best chance coming through the primaries to be in a good place in the general.
Let me just throw out, I think that Amy Klobuchar does something which many Democrats don't want, is that she doesn't allow the field to be cold. If Amy Klobuchar does well tonight, even comes in second or happens to surprise somebody and comes in first, I don't know if that could possibly happen. Or third. I mean, she's doing it at the expense of maybe even Elizabeth Warren and a few others in this race. But I don't think people just will drop out the race then. And, Democrats, it's 11 people still running for president, I think.
That's
I don't
right.
know. I think my aunt's running and a few other people. I don't know. I don't even know that, 8 through 11, right? But it doesn't help trim that. But I will say this, and I'm going to beat this dead horse until I have to. The fact is, Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg, to some extent Bernie Sanders, all have the same problem, which is that when you leave Iowa and New Hampshire, can you build a coalition that could replicate that energy that looks like the coalition that Barack Obama built? The only person, and we give Pete Buttigieg hell for his polling with black voters, the only person who does worse than Pete is Amy Klobuchar. The more disrespectful part of the Amy Klobuchar campaign is that she doesn't even try. Like there's no ground game in these areas. There's no ground game in South Carolina. There's no efforts made. There's no sitting down with African American media. There's not these things that are being done. So I hope she does well. I think she's an awesome candidate. But there comes a point in time when you have to look at a campaign and say, well, are you running for the nomination? I mean, there's a whole base that you got to talk to.
To Bakari's point, I don't want to get too far ahead because South Carolina is not until the 29th. But
and Nevada, because they'll be mad at us.
But I don't want to leave them out.
Nevada.
My God.
Yes.
It is noteworthy. I just went and looked at visits to South Carolina. Bakari and I were talking this off air. The most visits to South Carolina is Kamala Harris, who's not in the race anymore, 50. Second most, Cory Booker, who's not in the race anymore. Third most, Tom Steyer. You got to go way down that list, 24 visits total, Joe Biden. And below him, and this is to Bakari's point, Amy Klobuchar. You have to have some relationship, some structure in states in order to capitalize on momentum.
But
almost always. You can't just walk in.
Chris, Biden's been going there for 30 years.
And Biden's been going there a long time.
And Bakari says he's going to win there. That's really remarkable.
Even if she gets momentum in New Hampshire and maybe Nevada, you've got to have a structure in place.
Totally.
I got to get a break. We're
agree.
standing by for the first votes out of New Hampshire at the top of the hour. Stay tuned. We have more ahead. Also, an update on the breaking story, the resignation of all 4 federal prosecutors from the Roger Stone case. A lot more ahead.